TL Travelers, and welcome back to the TL Travel YouTube channel. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. If you are not new here, then welcome back. Today I am doing a bit of a travel Q&A. I'm not gonna lie, lately I have been at a bit of a loss for topics for videos and trying to figure out what you guys want to see and what you guys want to know from me. So today I went on Facebook and I asked you guys what questions you have about me for travel, for the business, and there seemed to be a pretty even split between questions regarding travel and then questions regarding TL Travel, my business, the YouTube channel, all that kind of thing. So I'm going to do this in two separate videos. So today we're going to be talking about travel specific questions, planning for travel, what you need to know, tips and tricks, all those kinds of things. So if travel Q&As and Q&A videos are something that you enjoy, definitely stick around for the rest of this video and hit that like button. It'll really help me out. And yeah, let's just get into your questions. So my first question is from Kelly, and she wants to know how much to budget for your trip depending on what country you're traveling to. Obviously, depending on how you travel, where you're traveling, what your interests are, budgets are going to differ from person to person and from place to place. But a general rule of thumb that I like to use to at least get an approximate idea of how much I might need is the rule of 3. And this rule generally assumes that you're going to be spending the same amount. So if you are a luxury traveler, that you are going to be eating more luxurious meals and traveling in more luxurious ways and doing more luxurious excursions. And that if you're a backpacker or a lower budget traveler, you are going to be staying in hostels and probably eating cheaper and traveling cheaper. So just keep that in mind. But basically all you do is you take the price of the accommodations that you plan on staying in on your trip and you multiply that price per night times 3 to account for accommodations, food, and then excursions and extras. So even though this is just a guideline to give you an idea of how much you will want to budget for your trip, it is also something that has worked really well for me in the past, so I would definitely recommend using that as a starting point. The second question that I have here is from Tracy, and this is regarding car rentals. So she says, what if I want to rent a car in country X? What do I need to do before I leave Canada, or whatever country it is that you're traveling from? So I have done a video on this in the past. If you want to check it out, I will put it in the description bar below. But the 3 biggest things that I will give you guys right now is to, first of all, decide if you can drive in that country. And I don't mean legally, I just mean go online, check and see what the road driving standards are, if they are driving on the other side of the road, if they are driving on the other side of the car, what their driving laws are like, what the traffic is like, just those kinds of things that will let you know if you even feel comfortable renting a car in that country. The second really important thing is to check and see if you need an IDP or an international driving permit to legally drive in that country. And this isn't going to replace your driver's license, so if you do get an IDP, make sure you still have your driver's license and your passport with you as well. But if you do need an international driving permit to drive in a country, you are going to want to get that before you leave. And then the third quick tip is to make sure that you bring a copy of your insurance. So if you are getting insurance from a second party, or you are only getting partial insurance from the company that you are renting your car from, because you already are partially covered by your insurance or on your credit card or something like that, you're going to need a copy of your insurance and your statement to present to the car rental company in order for you to leave without purchasing full insurance from them. The third question that I have here is tips on how to plan for visiting multiple cities in the same country on one trip. So if you are heading to a country and you are planning to stop in a variety of different cities during your vacation, which is something that I highly recommend, the first thing that you will want to look into is how you're going to get there. So one mistake that people make, and it is a huge one, is that they go on a site like TripAdvisor or Travel Fish, and after a quick glance through how other people got from point A to point B, they decide, yes, so-and-so went from, let's say, Chiang Mai to Bangkok by bus, that's how I'm gonna go. And then they leave it at that. The problem with doing it that way is that you don't always know the smaller details of the service. So for example, you're gonna wanna find out if that bus is direct. Maybe you can go from Chiang Mai to Bangkok by bus, but maybe you have to go by 3 buses and 2 transfers. Or maybe you can do that route, but it only leaves once a day. Or maybe you can do that route, but it only leaves seasonally. And that is another problem that arises, especially if you are dealing with wanting to go to different islands in certain countries or landlocked beach areas that are only accessible by boat. Some of these places aren't even open depending on the season. So just because person A on TripAdvisor advises taking a flight, then hopping on a quick bus, and then hopping on a boat, and there you are, doesn't necessarily mean that when you go and at your time of the year, you're gonna be able to do that as well. So doing more research into what's available is going to go a long way when you're planning your transit from place to place. Obviously, you also want to take into account how long it's going to take to get there. Just because a route looks short on a map doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to take a long time. There might be multiple stops, or you might be weaving through the mountains, and a 2-hour trip could turn into a 12-hour trip really quickly. So make sure you look into that as well. And my last little tip regarding planning for multiple cities in one trip is just to not assume that the prices are going to be the same from one city to another. So if you are traveling on a budget, you want to make sure that you know just how much things are going to cost when you get there, because just because a flight is cheap to get to a destination or that you can get there quickly doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be worth it if you're trying to plan a budget trip. Okay, so Jennifer wants to know directions to vaccines or other information, medical information that you need when you're traveling. So first of all, I'm going to tell you always want to carry a copy of your medical information on you when you're traveling. My doctor gave me a little travel size like vaccination record book, but you're always going to want to check and see what vaccines are recommended and what vaccines are required for the country that you're visiting before you go. So I'm going to answer this for Canada specifically and Canadians specifically, but your government website, whatever country you're watching in, is bound to have vaccine and medical information online for you for each specific country as well. But for Canadian travelers, you're going to want to go to www.travel.gc.ca. And then from the homepage, you're going to go to travel, then travel abroad, and then travel, health, and safety. And under vaccines, there's a drop down where you can put in the country that you're visiting. And when you click the country you are going to, it will bring up all of the medical information and all of the vaccines and everything that you need to know for that country before you depart. Dawn wants to know what I do for power outlets, and then can I buy what I forget, and are ATMs available? So pretty much what I've learned as far as outlets go is the best thing to do is to just buy a universal adapter or 2 universal adapters for your travels, so that no matter where you go, what country you end up in, you have an outlet for that country and you can plug in your electronics. Basically, buying a outlet for the country that you're going to, that works all well and good until you find yourself stranded for 2 or 3 nights in transit in a country that you don't have an adapter for, or alternately, you buy a converter for the country that you're going to, and then you only go to that country once and you don't need it anymore. So with a universal converter, it makes life easier. You can travel to and from wherever and know that you can always plug in your stuff. And if you're stuck in some random country somewhere that uses some bizarre configuration, you're good to go. As for ATMs, generally speaking, you're going to be able to find an ATM no matter where you're at. I personally, if you are planning your travels or if I'm planning for somebody else, I always like to start the adventure in a more populated city, populated area, so that if you need ATMs, if you need to pick up things that you forgot at home, if you need to get a universal charger, whatever it is that you need, you will be in a place where you can get it, and then branch out from there. So you never find yourself flying into a country and then going directly out into the middle of nowhere and finding yourself in a situation where if you've forgotten something, you're pretty much pooched. My next question here is, how much time should someone plan in advance before a trip? And the name of any good websites to meet up with other travelers while you are away. So planning in advance, this really differs whether you are backpacking or if you are planning luxury travel or if you are planning villas, but the general rule of thumb is that in low season, you are going to be pretty good to show up in a place. So if you're wanting to just wing it as a backpacker, you're pretty good to do so in the low season, as long as you aren't super, super picky. For high season or popular tourist season, I would say start your planning process and booking things in advance, maybe 3 to 6 months ahead of time, or at the very least, just book yourself accommodations for when you land, for like the first week that you're there. Maybe have your accommodations lined up, and then if you want to wing it after that, you have that first week to figure out where you're going to stay, or if there isn't availability where you want to go, you have the opportunity to change your plans and go somewhere else. And then for holiday travel, like if you're planning on traveling over Christmas or for New Year's or for big events, you're going to want to look at planning that as much as a year in advance. I know people who book the same holiday rentals, same villa rentals every single year for Christmas. they book it for Christmas, and then when they check out, they book it for the next year again, because that's just how it has to be done to get exactly what they want for the holiday season. As far as websites go to meet other travelers while you are away traveling, there really aren't any that I want to recommend as like a safe way to do that. Obviously, meeting up with someone that you've met online, I don't know, isn't necessarily going to be the safest way to do things. But what I can recommend is staying in hostels that offer sort of group or like inclusive activities. Something else that you can look into is like co-working spaces. For someone who has an online business and does work abroad, going to a co-working space makes it really easy for me to meet other like-minded travelers and meet other people who are doing the same thing, and then go from there. I always find meeting people in person or finding places to meet people in person is going to go a lot further and is a lot safer than meeting someone online and then going to meet them in a strange country. My next question here is from Devin, and he asks, am I allowed to bring over-the-counter drugs with me when I am flying? So I'm gonna address this as just drugs in general and flying domestically or internationally, just so we can cover our bases. So yes, you can definitely travel with prescription medications and over-the-counter drugs like Tylenol, Advil, etc. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you have them all in their labeled bottles. This is going to make going through security so much easier. The absolute worst thing that you can do is mix and match your medications into one bottle to try and save space. For prescription medications, you also want to make sure that those are in labeled bottles with your name on it, so your prescription on the bottle. As long as the prescription or medication that you are traveling with is legal in the destination that you are traveling to, then you can bring it with you as long as you have your prescription, and obviously as long as you're not bringing like obscene amounts of said prescription or medication with you. I'm sure that that will provoke some questions. And the last question that I have is, what is the best way to get cash out in country? Insert country here. And is it best to do withdrawal from ATM or to take money cash with me? This will differ from person to person for a variety of reasons and from place to place for a variety of reasons. Obviously, if you are traveling somewhere that doesn't have an ATM available, you're going to want to pull out as much cash as you need before you go. Now, assuming that ATMs are available in the place that you are going and that major debit, credit cards, etc. are going to be accepted, what I generally do is I will take out a small amount of currency for the country that I am traveling to before I leave, so that when I arrive in the airport, no matter what time it is, whether I can get to an ATM at that time or not, I have money available for food, cab, whatever I might need, or if there's any sort of an emergency, I already have that. Then from there, it's gonna depend on what kind of a traveler you are and what kind of fees are associated with your cards. So if you have a credit card or a debit card that isn't going to charge you like astronomical ATM fees and withdrawal fees, then you might decide that just pulling out of ATMs as you go, a little bit here, a little bit there, is going to work best for you, and that's fine. I generally will pull out whatever the max amount of money that's allowed. So for me in Thailand, for example, I can pull out about the equivalent of 350 Canadian dollars in Thai baht, and then I will lock that with my passport in the safe in my room and just take with me out when I'm going out and traveling around, shopping, going eating, whatever. I will just take with me from that amount of money the amount of money that I think I'm going to need for that day, if that makes sense. And then if you are staying in a hotel or a villa, which if you are a TL traveler, that is most likely the situation that you're in, you will have no problem paying with Visa, MasterCard, debit, whatever you would like at your hotel on checkout. And then no matter how you decide it's going to work best for you, whether it's taking out little amounts from the ATM as you go, or whether it's pulling out a lump sum and then pulling from that, you want to make sure that before you go, you report your travel to your credit card and to your bank for your debit card so that they do not cut you off. They make a note that you are traveling in the country that you're going to, and they don't cut off your funds. So that's going to be it for me for today and my Q&A. Thank you guys to everyone who asked questions. If you have another Q&A question about travel in general, about travel with TL Travel, or just about business in general, whatever you can think of, feel free to leave it in the comments below and I will put it in my next video. And if you have not already, hit that subscribe button. definitely do so. We post new travel content every Thursday and Sunday, and yeah, you won't want to miss it. So until next time, stay great, travel safe, and I will see you guys in the next